time, I lived on the second floor of a 2-story house. While renting out a room on the first floor, a prospective tenant who came to see the room turned out to be my long-lost friend from my hometown, whom I hadn't been in contact with for a long time. Interestingly, she also had a daughter born in the same year and month as my daughter. My daughter was born on April 2nd last year. When was yours born? After sharing her baby's name, my friend asked about my daughter's name and its meaning. We further exchanged more about our little ones. However, not long after her daughter was born, her husband cheated on her. She immediately filed for a divorce and took custody of the baby with a firm decision to raise her all by herself. Yet, because her daughter was frail since birth, raising the child alone proved to be a challenging task. One day, my friend asked if I had any spare baby bibs to borrow. She often asked for other baby supplies, and I often gave her things like pacifiers and bottles that my baby no longer uses or has extra. And I couldn't help but feel pity at her expressions of gratitude. In return, she sometimes helped take care of my daughter when I was busy. This mutual reliance fostered a strong bond between us. However, one day while I was sitting on a couch, I dozed off for a moment and had a strange dream. "Who is it at this hour?" With a deep, resonant voice, a man at the door called my daughter's name and threatened to take her away. I instinctively knew he was a messenger of death. In panic, I grabbed the doorknob and desperately blocked the door. While struggling, I abruptly woke up. I couldn't tell if it was a dream or real. It felt too vivid to be a dream. Terrified, I immediately got up and went to the Buddhist temple where I usually offer prayers. Once I arrived, I prayed for hours without realizing how much time had passed. A monk who had been observing me fervently praying approached, noticing my distress. After recounting my vivid dream, the monk gazed at my daughter and reassured me that she shows signs of longevity, enough to witness her great-grandchild, and I don't have to worry. However, I couldn't shake off the unease as the dream felt too vivid and ominous. Anxiously, I shared my concerns, to which the monk gave me advice. If the man comes again, serve him a meal and make sure he eats it. However, if he returns accompanied by 2 others like him, then go to the temple and see the monk immediately. With a heavy heart, I returned home. But what's this? Upon arrival, I discovered the neatly tied garbage bags I'd left outside our house were torn apart and scattered. Thinking it might have been just dogs or cats, I dismissed it. That day, feeling exhausted, I found myself dozing off again on a couch holding the baby in my arms.
"Open the door. I know your daughter is in there."
It was the same man's voice I heard in dreams looking for my baby daughter. I was utterly shocked, yet simultaneously reminded of the advice the monk shared. With a trembling voice, "Please wait. I've prepared some food. Please do have a bite before you go. It'll be delicious, I promise. Please just try it." To my surprise, the man who had lingered outside my baby's room for quite some time slowly turned and took a seat at the table. He picked up a spoon and began eating. And then I abruptly woke up. Initially, I felt relieved having seen him eating, but that relief was short-lived. From then on, a nightmare became real. My once healthy baby daughter began to suffer gradually, evident from her cries. It wasn't the usual cry from being hungry or wanting to be changed. Her cries were more like agonizing wails. Despite visiting the hospital, they found nothing wrong. Then one day, exhausted, I dozed off for a moment with my baby in my arms. Once again, a man appeared in my dream. But wait a minute, this time he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by another man. Startled, I hastily prepared meals for them, trembling with fear and clumsily serving them while desperately trying to make them eat. After finishing their meal, one of the men uttered words that froze me in place.
"Next time, there will be 3 of us."
I was so shocked that as soon as dawn broke, I ran to the temple to see the monk. "Please help me. Upon hearing my plea, the master seemed confused, remarking that, according to her fate, my baby was born with longevity. He then offered advice, not even sure himself if it would work. The monk insisted on 3 things. First, to report the change of address to the municipal office from the current one to one of the relatives' addresses. Second, to change the baby's name as soon as possible. And thirdly, to use the new baby's name exclusively within our family, keeping it secret from others. I had some doubts about the master's advice, but I was so desperate to save my baby that I was willing to try anything. I immediately reported my daughter's change of address from the current to my relatives and started calling her by a new name. Then something truly amazing happened. From the day we received confirmation that the change of address and name change had been processed, our baby, who had been inexplicably sick, started to improve rapidly, smiling brightly as if nothing had happened. And those men who said there would be 3 never appeared in my dreams again. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. However, a few days later, suddenly the sound of an ambulance and commotion was heard from outside. Sadly, my friend's baby, who had been sick, eventually died. I approached my friend to offer comfort, but unexpectedly, my friend's grief erupted into accusations. She shouted it was my daughter who was supposed to die, not hers, and even accused me of causing her daughter's death before returning to her dead baby and continuing to cry. I was too stunned to react and could only stare, frozen. Barely regaining my senses as I made my way back home, a strange smell lingered around my nose. What is this? With an odd feeling, I entered my friend's house. The moment I stepped in, I was met with a chilling scene. An altar with burning incense. But it wasn't just food offerings on the altar. There were bibs, bottles, pacifiers, all sorts of items our baby had used. And as I looked closer, I noticed a memorial plaque where only the names of the deceased should be engraved, but it had our baby's previous name inscribed on it. But the eerie atmosphere didn't end there. The ceiling above was stuck with dozens of razor-sharp blades, directly below my baby daughter's room. I could tell right away that it was meant to do harm to my daughter. Shocked, I rushed back to the monk. When I recounted everything to him, he began to share something unbelievable. My friend was hosting a ritual against my baby daughter, a cursed ritual intended to turn the living into the dead. Enraged and seeking answers, I confronted the mother of the deceased child, who I no longer call a friend, demanding to know why such a heinous act was carried out. According to her words, she grew concerned about her baby's health, who was born frail, prompting her to seek out a shaman. The shaman suggested renaming her baby with a name similar to another baby of the same age, and performing a ritual, offering items associated with that baby, all in an attempt to replace my baby daughter with her own. In other words, to substitute the other baby in place of her own baby. Only then did everything become clear. Why she asked for items used by my baby daughter, why the garbage bag left outside was rummaged through, and why she inquired so specifically about our baby's name and its meaning. Upon deeper reflection, moving into the first floor of our house may not be mere coincidence. It was all part of a plan to perform a cursed ritual, sacrificing the life of another child, potentially mine, to preserve her own daughter's life.